Welcome to Englewood, Florida. This is the cave of a protected gopher tortoise. In theory, with this nest being here, this piece of real estate could never be legally developed because it's a protected species. Everywhere you look, all you see is empty lots for sale or commercial buildings for sale. It seems like one of the few businesses that you actually see in this city opening up are smoke shops. There seems to be one every half a mile. It's amazing to see how many closed down businesses there are in Englewood as you drive through. And driving around town is understandable why there's so many smoke shops. It seems like the only thing people do in this town is smoke. Available signs for lease and for rent signs are everywhere, and it's been about a year since the hurricane. That building's vacant, this building's vacant, and that building behind me is vacant as well. As you sit here in this intersection, you can tell that just about everything out here is vacant, destroyed. And the hurricane was about a year ago. That should have kind of been enough time for these businesses to reopen. Yeah, buddy. It's like everything here is vacant. We're now entering the Charlotte County side. The amount of commercial real estate that is in absolute disrepair since the hurricane is staggering. It's like, take a look at this building here. It used to be a dental office. Today it's completely abandoned and boarded up. Yeah, buddy! It would be one thing to say that Englewood, Florida fared very badly after the hurricanes. But the reality is that here things don't look good. You know, sometimes as YouTube creators, we set out to do one story and we discover a completely different one. I came out here to do a story on the Venezuelan community and all the arrests that have gone viral out of this area. However, when I show up here, I discover a different story of a town that hasn't recovered from the hurricanes. Boarded up, completely destroyed. This is just one of the many abandoned buildings out here. Now, the original story that we were covering in this area had to do with the absurd amount of Venezuelans that were being arrested in this town. So the real story we were chasing today had to do with the Venezuelan community here. And well, that's really the story we came here for today. But we're discovering another story as well. All right, guys, so now we are on the Charlotte County side of Englewood. And here as well, the amount of abandoned buildings everywhere you look is insane. And the sad thing is that it isn't just one business here or there. It's a significant portion of the buildings facing the major streets of this town. As you drive through here, it's just insane how many people have lost their businesses in this area. So on our YouTube channel, some of the videos that we did here in Englewood and Charlotte County went pretty viral. I've had videos get 200,000-300,000 views, 100,000 views, 90,000 views of mostly videos of undocumented people being arrested here in Charlotte County. Those videos did really well on our YouTube channel. Most of them were Venezuelan nationals. But then people grab those videos and re-upload them to platforms like TikTok, where they got millions of views. So I found it appropriate to come over here and see what's going on in this community that's generated so much buzz on our YouTube channel to those body cam videos. And well, I'm gonna say that what I found here today is definitely disappointing. What's up, buddy? This is almost like the new Rust Belt of the United States here in Florida. It's really sad to see how this town has failed to recover from the hurricanes and now looks like a Rust Belt town, or one of those little towns that you see in Alabama or Mississippi where everything has failed. And really the saddest thing about Englewood's condition is that if you had asked me a few years ago what I thought the future of this town would have been, I would have definitely said something positive. I mean, everything here really did seem like it was going in the right direction. What happened to Englewood, Florida? Why so many businesses haven't been able to recover from the hurricane? It's really sad that this is the only type of business that is literally having customers. And I mean, just take a look at this shopping plaza. Dude, I don't care if you got a Ferrari. I don't care how new your car is. When you talk about the coolest thing you could drive, take a look at this hole right here. And if you look at the bottom, it looks like there's fecal waste in there. All right, guys, so we got this little shopping plaza here. All right, guys, so as we approach this building, we can see the first unit here is empty. From the outside, you can tell that this building suffered tremendously during the hurricane, with water pouring in and destroying everything on the inside. The amount of tourism here defines the economy. It's a snowbird city. If you were to come to Englewood before the hurricane, during the wintertime, you would have seen restaurants were packed, people from Michigan particularly. There seems to be a large community of people from Michigan here. There's a jewelry store here, and they're no longer at this site. So next door, I guess this is where the Publix would have been. It looks like they completely tore down the Publix, and they're going to build another one from scratch. And well, I guess this used to be called the Good Times Diner, and now it's El Jalisco Mexican Restaurant. Not sure why there's so many motorcycles here. And well, there's two types of businesses thriving here, and it's Mexican food trucks and the ones we mentioned earlier. It's pretty sad when this is the only type of business opening in your community, and there isn't one. These things are everywhere. Now over there you can hear some live music outside a restaurant, and that's really the snowbird vibe. So you literally have one here at this plaza, and then you have one at the other plaza right next door. So there's a guy in a truck that's just left and literally went in there, bought something, smoking. I know from the smell what it is that he's smoking, but it's crazy how he just got in his car and drove away. I mean, in the state of Florida, driving in that condition is illegal. Here you have a car wash that recently failed as well. I can't believe how many businesses have failed here in Englewood. I mean, you're driving through here, and I kid you not, maybe 1 in 4 businesses have failed in some of these little plazas, if not more. Well, as you guys know, this area has been more relentless on immigration than anywhere else in Florida. Charlotte County has been one of those counties that said, we're going to go after undocumented workers more than anybody else. So what is the result? Well, if you don't have workers, you don't have businesses. And I think part of the problem here isn't just the hurricane, but it's also the lack of workers. See, the issue really comes down to the following. In the past, we've mentioned on our channel that in order for, a quick bounce back from hurricanes, undocumented workers are absolutely essential for that. because the amount of work that needs to happen immediately after the hurricane, it takes a lot of workers. And the only people that are really willing to work 14 hours a day are them. Now, if you rebuild quickly after a hurricane, chances are your businesses aren't going to fail. But there was something very different in the aftermath of this hurricane because, like I said, we've seen Southwest Florida bounce back from Irma, Ian, and many other hurricanes, Charlie as well. And what has marked the difference between this hurricane and others is that in the aftermath of this hurricane, local government was cracking down on undocumented workers, and well, all of this hurricane cleanup took place at the hands of undocumented workers. So, and keep in mind that this county has been persistently going after undocumented people more than anywhere else in Florida. That's why so many videos on our channel have gone viral on this topic. This county, Charlotte County, has said, we are going to go heavily after undocumented workers. So imagine in the aftermath of a hurricane, if you go after the people who do 99% of the hurricane cleanup, what do you think is going to happen? We'll take a look around and see. And here's another one. So how do you expect these communities to rebuild from the hurricane when the local government is going after the people who do the hurricane cleanup? The one thing that I've learned about hurricanes after living in Southwest Florida so long is that you have to rebuild quickly, because if you don't and everybody around you doesn't rebuild quickly, that's when things really spiral out of control. And well, because of the lack of workers, many businesses here had to slow down their rebuilding. When some people stop rebuilding, it trickles down into an effect where the area as a whole wasn't able to recover, and that's why tourists don't come back. So what you're seeing here is in some way or another related to the fact that there weren't enough workers. So in the aftermath of a hurricane, then these businesses have to come back to rebuild while losing a lot of their workers. So when you drive through this part, I mean, it's crazy to think that just south of here is Northport, which was the fastest growing city in the United States a while back. And now you come through here and you see all these failed businesses. What caused this area to decline? Well, that's interesting. All right, guys, so let's talk Venezuelans. The largest group of people that are being arrested here for driving without a valid driver's license have been Venezuelans. But if you go to construction sites, you don't really see Venezuelans working construction. You don't really have any Venezuelan food trucks out here. You don't really have any Venezuelan anything. However, this part of Englewood got filled up with Venezuelans, and today those Venezuelans are like the #1 group of people being arrested for ICE holds over here. Now, of course, most Central Americans and people that are coming here from the Caribbean are coming undocumented or illegal to work in the United States, but Venezuelans, they're not coming here to work construction jobs. In fact, it doesn't seem like they work at all. So this area that we're in right now had the highest concentration of ICE arrests among the Venezuelan community. So this is an area that has a large number of people who are living in the United States undocumented, and it can be denoted by the amount of arrests that happen here. And if you drive through here today, you'll notice that most of the rental units seem to be vacant. I mean, it doesn't take much to figure out that a lot of these places are empty now. So when they started to rev up immigration arrests, we started to see a lot of Venezuelans getting arrested here. Now, what's interesting is it was hard to tell that there were Venezuelans here because you didn't see any restaurants opening up. You didn't see any businesses. You sure as crap don't see them working. Now, this part of Englewood got completely emptied out, and we all know the reason why. There was a crapload of undocumented people living over here in this part of Englewood, and many of them have left voluntarily. Others have been deported. Many of them who are being deported are being arrested for driving without a valid driver's license or committing other type of criminal activity, but mostly driving without a valid driver's license. And on our YouTube channel, we've done a fairly good job of documenting this situation. But like I said, it's bizarre that you don't really see an economical impact from the Venezuelan community because a lot of them simply don't work. Now you got to understand that Venezuela is very different from other Latin American countries. When you look at Latin America, for example, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, here in the United States, we get the ones that are poor, we get the ones from the countryside, the ones that have nothing and are trying to follow the American dream, which for them is to save money and send it back home. Well, that's good to know. So what made the Venezuelan community kind of different is that people from Venezuela were coming over here because they have a lot of money and they're trying to escape a regime. That means that you're not getting poor people coming here to work. You're getting like regular people who had money in Venezuela. They're not like Central Americans who are coming here to work. Venezuelans are leaving a country that's oppressive. They're fleeing from a regime and they're looking to find somewhere to live, and they're not exactly poor people. And well, that creates an interesting circumstance because for some reason or another, a lot of people from Venezuela decide to resettle here in this northern tip of Charlotte County, not to work, but simply to live. But they're just going shopping and eating and hanging out at home. They're not exactly part of the labor force. But what happens is that their temporary statuses get revoked, and now they don't even have a driver's license. So now all of a sudden you got this wave of Venezuelans that are being arrested over here for driving without a valid driver's license. And many of them actually own their houses. They don't rent. They're not poor people coming here to work. In fact, if you remember, the first wave of Venezuelans that came to Florida were actually the rich people. Usually when a regime takes over, it's first the rich people that bail out. What people forget to mention is that that wave of Venezuelan and South American money is what led to the real estate appreciation that we had here in South Florida. And over the last few years, a couple other countries in Latin America have also become destabilized. And what do you think those rich people did with their money? So basically, you had this wave of people with a lot of money trying to flee other parts of the world, and they all invested here. And now they all have to leave. Salsa music blasting out of every car in this parking lot. So like, if you look around, there's like every single car here is like a Corolla or a Camry. And a lot of these guys are going to be Uber drivers, so they're just sitting here waiting for a ride. And like literally there's 1, 2, 3, 4 Corollas here. So these guys are all going to be like Venezuelan Uber drivers. So, and here's another one. So like every last one of these guys is Venezuelan dudes. They're all blasting salsa music. But a lot of people have had to leave the area with the situation now. And when I pull my body cam footage of this area, you know, it's most Venezuelans getting arrested here, and that's because, you know, temporary status. And with more people having their temporary status revoked, it's going to be a lot more people soon that just had their licenses revoked. So that's the situation here in this part of Florida, Englewood, Florida. A Venezuelan community that existed out here that I think pretty soon will not be around for much. I want to finish today's video here on Dearborn Street, the iconic downtown of Englewood. I'm literally standing in the middle of the road here, and all you hear is absolute silence. Now, normally, this time of year, the snowbirds would already start to get back. Every one of these restaurants would have live music, people walking around, dancing and laughing. This town was an incredible place before the hurricane. But as I sit here today, I'm literally standing on Dearborn Street, the iconic downtown of Englewood, and I can hear nothing but my own thoughts. And today is a Saturday night. But look at this place. Nothing like what it used to be. No live music, no laughter on the streets. For some, the economy just isn't as good as it used to be. And we know our friends in Canada just simply aren't going to be coming here for the most part. It really is bizarre to be here on Dearborn Street and to just feel this place so lifeless and empty. I've never really seen a city like this. Hopefully, as the winter punishes people up north, more people will decide to snowbird back down here and we can get some life going in this community.